Hello, my friends, and welcome to What's Up. Gregg Braden and I come to you every 2 weeks to talk a little bit about whatever's on our minds. Greg, what's up? So,
Hey,
what's on your mind, my friend?
John, it's good to see you, and I'm happy that you're enjoying the warm and the sun in Mexico because it's cold and windy here in the high desert of northern New Mexico. So I'm happy to be with you today. This what's what's really been my focus for the last couple of weeks. As a scientist, John, I'm looking at all the parameters that are unfolding in our lives today, all the things we're talking about, in quartet and with our friends and our circles. And what I elected to do was do a little exercise because what we're seeing, John, makes no sense. What we're seeing makes absolutely no sense at all. It makes the climate policies make no sense. The energy policies, the policies on war and conflict, what's happening with economies, what's happening with human health. None of it makes any sense. So the exercise I did as a systems thinker, I took a number of parameters and I created the vectors to draw them to their logical conclusion. So in other words, what would our world look like if each of these parameters were allowed or does go to fruition? And what I found, John, I'll go through some of these, but what I found is it leads to a world that's very different, an Earth very different than the Earth we have today, uh, that may not really benefit the people of the Earth. And if people of the Earth are not benefiting, I mean, I don't see where anyone is going to benefit. And it's not about money, and it's not about power, and it's not about greed. All of those are factors, but there's a bigger agenda playing out here. So when we begin to look at where these lead, we have to say who benefits. And if it's not people of the earth that are benefiting, then who does benefit? And I think it's interesting that so many of these agendas are being pushed now as disclosure is happening on multiple levels in multiple different ways. And I think that agenda, the disclosure agenda, has to become a factor. We look at the other things that are going on that are taking human life. We look at the pandemic, we look at the wars and the loss of life in the wars. And the bottom line is that it appears that there is an agenda to make Earth like it was in the past, not like it is now. Conditions during that time, average carbon dioxide levels, average temperature is about 46 degrees during the Pleistocene. 30% of the Earth's surface was covered by ice. If we drop those temperatures, that's what we're going to be looking at. These were extinctions. So now we have to ask the bigger question when we talk about the other factors of disclosure. Multiple disclosures are happening, and there are multiple interests according to those disclosures from multiple off-planet civilizations that have an interest in Earth. And I think the question, John, is why. We talked about this in a quartet briefly, in a recent quartet. The cosmos is a big place. Why Earth of all the places? Why now of all the times in history? And why is it so important to do this covertly? If we're interacting with a global or a cosmic civilization, why not work together in a way that's beneficial for both? Why would this kind of an agenda be done covertly?
I've come to the conclusion, for what it's worth, that as you've suggested, that when you drill yourself down to who benefits, as you work your way through all of this, you inevitably come uh, to the level that you're talking about that says that there's an off-planet kind of impact or force or involvement in all of this. And that, and if you did a little further into this, what you find out is, and I'm going to try to kind of walk around this thing in a way such that we can get this published, perhaps, is that there are groups who are particularly interested in trying to dominate uh, uh, planets like ours and civilizations like ours. And they've done that in many other places. And they have a common modus operandi. And that is a long term, there apparently are some kind of rules of engagement in these areas so that you can't come blazing in like the movies with guns and other kind of things and drive people. But what you can do is you can try to influence and shape and color the environment such that they will make their decisions in the direction that you would like them to make them. This is driven primarily, of course, by fear and essentially using humans and the consciousness of humans as a kind of energy sources. Now, it turns out, apparently, that there are also other forces that are in play in this other earthly realm, whose job it is and who see their role is to, as a matter of fact, get in the middle of that the dynamic, the process that I've just described, uh, such that the nascent, the emergent civilization, in fact, because they don't understand what's going on, certainly in general, there are certain people at the top that seem to, but that the people in general don't know, and therefore, what apparently the rules, prime directive, call it what you'd like, I guess, allows that when those people on, say, the Earth, the emerging citizenry, get to the place where they realize in some degree what is going on here, that they can literally ask for help, and it's and other forces are available to be able to come to the fore.
The terraforming of our planet. And this is a term that's actually coming up now because Elon Musk is proposing terraforming Mars to make it habitable for us, and even terraforming parts of the moon. So the idea that a highly advanced, technologically sophisticated civilization would be terraforming Earth to support their biology is not so, that's not so out there right now, but that's a long-term project. That's a long-term perspective. And we've not lost the planet yet from our perspective. And the irony, this is the irony, John, is the policy, the thinking that led to the policies that have caused so many nations now to move away from fossil fuels. Those policies have now failed them because the alternatives are not yet in place. And they're scrambling now for sources of energy that are now less efficient than if they had just left things alone. So they're going, for example, Europe is firing up their coal-fired plants. I believe there is a battle for our humanness. And all of these things that create the fear are what keeps us from the deep truth of our humanness. And the word that's used for this in the Hindu traditions is called Atman. And the best translation in English is our divinity. And it has nothing to do with religion, but it is our ability to transcend the perceived limits of our species in the past. That's all it is. And the transhuman movement to replace our biology with synthetics, with polymers, to reprogram our immune system, all of these, if they're embraced, they stand between us and the highest expression of ourselves. They keep us from our divinity. Without even fighting the battle, we win by becoming the best version of ourselves, by embracing our humanness and the nature of humans to live in community and to love and support one another. By doing that, that is completely antithetical to the policies that are being proposed that keep us isolated and in fear from one another and in fear of our own power.
And thank you all for watching who've been with us here. And check
Thanks a
us
lot.
out at the Arlington Institute and see some of the other things that we're doing. Thanks, Greg. Be well,
Thank you,
man.
John. Take good care.